what if our entire history, everything we are, wasn't just written in books or stored on hard drives, but was actually coded into the very fabric of our DNA? What if memory itself was like a song, just folded into time? Well, that's the incredible idea we're exploring today from a story called The Codex 97.1128, Memory of a Hidden World.
This quote right here, from the story's main character, Petra I. Rotsev, it really sets the stage for everything. The idea that life isn't just a biological accident, but maybe an archive. A message just sitting there waiting for someone to finally read it. And our story is all about the very last person who might be able to do just that.
So, our journey starts with a signal. But it's not coming from deep space or some distant star. No, this one is coming from deep within our own past, discovered in, well, the most unlikely place imaginable.
Let me introduce you to Petra. She's the last archivist in a world that has literally forgotten itself. Her job is to read the whispers that are left behind in things like molecules and bone. And the key to this whole puzzle is this one specific artifact, an ancient human skull. It has this rare feature called a metopic suture. It's a faint line down the forehead that usually disappears when you're a baby. But for Petra, it's not a flaw. It's like a seam, a perfect place where a message could have been hidden away.
So, as she's studying this skull and other ancient remains, she starts to notice something off. Something that just shouldn't be there. It's a pattern, a signal that keeps repeating, cutting right through what should just be the random noise of biology.
And this is it. This is the anomaly. Just 3 numbers, 971, 128. And the weird thing is she starts finding this sequence everywhere. In fossilized DNA, inside a fragment of an old medieval codex, even in the firing patterns of this tiny lab-grown artificial brain. It's like a persistent, logical ghost in the machine of life itself.
Now, to really understand why finding these numbers is such a massive deal, you have to get a picture of the worlds Petra was born into, a world that was silenced by this cataclysm they called the Great Erasure.
This wasn't your typical apocalypse with explosions and fire. No, this was a slow, quiet fade to black. The story explains how years of just, unchecked genetic editing led to this bizarre hereditary collapse of our ability to remember and tell stories. It started small, people forgetting names, memories getting blurry, but then whole chunks of history just vanished from people's minds. Society didn't explode, it just unraveled, leaving behind a world full of gestures but no stories to go with them.
But you know what? Some people fought back. They were called the Cognitive Resistance Brigades, or later the Archivists of the Forgotten. They fought this desperate war against total oblivion. They were hiding knowledge anywhere they could, encrypting data, burying time capsules, even carving fundamental equations into bone, all in the hope that someday someone might find a piece and still know how to understand it.
And that brings us right back to Petra. See, as the last archivist, she doesn't just save knowledge, she's a code breaker. And she's the one who finally figures out how to read this impossible message that's been hidden in plain sight all along.
Okay, now this is where her method gets absolutely brilliant. It's a complete flip of how we normally think about DNA. She's not looking at the genetic letters, C, T, A, G, no. Instead, she calculates the total number of subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, electrons, for each little genetic triplet. She calls this its logical mass. Then she takes that number, converts it into binary code, and turns that code into an image, a pattern of black and white squares. She is literally translating the fundamental physics of life into a picture.
And this is what she gets. Look at that. It's not random static. It's ordered. It's symmetrical. It's a geometric pattern that looks intelligent. It looks designed. It's the proof she needed. The sequence 97.1.128 is a real message encoded at the most fundamental level of our biology.
So if it's a message, the next big question is, what does it say? And this is where the whole discovery pivots from biology straight into cosmology.
Petra comes up with these 2 just mind-bending hypotheses. The first is that the code is a biological cryptosignature, basically an intentional calling card left in our DNA by some extraterrestrial intelligence. The second idea is maybe even crazier, that it's an origin encoding, a galactic return address, which would mean life on Earth didn't actually start here at all. It was sent, with a little tag telling us where it came from.
Because it turns out the numbers aren't symbolic, they're coordinates. Galactic longitude 97 degrees, latitude 1 degree, and a distance of 128 light-years. The code points to a very specific location in the sky, in a neighboring spiral arm of our own galaxy. It's a map.
And this realization just changes everything for her. She gets it now. She hasn't just found some ancient artifact. In her words, she has awakened a dormant intelligence. She's made first contact, not by listening to the stars, but by listening to the code that was inside her all along. So, in a world that has gone completely silent, what do you do with this kind of knowledge? Well, for Petra, there's only one thing to do. You have to answer the call.
You see, the Great Erasure had this one really bizarre side effect. It scrubbed the sky clean of all of humanity's constant, chaotic noise. The satellites are dead, the networks are silent. So into this perfect quiet, Petra finds an old observatory dish, and she sends a single, elegant signal back to those coordinates she decoded. Just a clean wave carrying nothing but that geometric pattern from our DNA.
But you gotta understand, this is an act of incredible, almost unbelievable patience and faith. That signal is going to a place 128 light-years away. So it'll take 128 years just for her message to get there, and if someone sends a reply, it would take another 128 years to come back. We're talking about a conversation that spans centuries, a message she will never, ever live to see answered.
And maybe that's the whole point. As Petra herself puts it, humanity used to just scream into the cosmos without ever really listening. So maybe losing everything was the only way for us to finally learn the value of a single, focused whisper.
And so, the story leaves us with this one last, huge question. If consciousness can be encoded in bone, if a message can survive in the subatomic structure of a cell, then what exactly is intelligence? Is it something that's tied to a brain or to a species, or is it something more fundamental? Something that, just like a signal, simply waits in the silence to be received?